What's good? What's good? Not the ramping up of World War III. It appears that slavery is still very much supported by the United States government. I just read that legal measures are being passed to conscript 18 to 26-year-old men and women. To conscript, to force their enlistment and participation in the military. To force. And this is kind of maybe potentially even worse than just regular slavery, because they're not just stealing their minds and their bodies and the fruits of their labors, but they are putting them in positions to commit murder. I cannot begin to imagine the psychological trauma associated with that. And in fact, I'll just deviate a little bit. That's something I think about somewhat often. I like watching those investigation YouTube videos where detectives are asking questions to murderers, and it fascinates me that someone can take the life of another human and show no remorse, or they're able to compartmentalize it so well, because that is it's the literally the most sacred thing we can objectively identify. We cannot objectively identify a god. We cannot objectively identify a morally superior philosophy. I can, but whatever. Your life. That is the most important thing, regardless of your faith or of your background. To me, that's like the worst thing you could do. And so I just think about that. And I try to, in a non-judgmental way, as much as I can. Judgment is inevitable, but the more I seek to find compassion, the less I judge. And I like that. I don't like to judge. It's not fun. You should still make assessments based on information. But anyways, let's get back on subject. PTSD and our soldiers comes to mind as well. There are a lot of young men and women who, for all intents and purposes, truly believe they were fighting for freedom and for good causes. However, I've met many of them that over the years after their duties, their tours, their enlistments, they regret the actions that they took. And they believe that the government is corrupt. And there's sorrow and sadness for their complicity, even though they started the journey from a good place. And there's this shame and guilt. How much of that drives the PTSD of our wounded warriors? There are so many different Americans. The world is struggling, but if we want to just talk about America, every gender, every ethnicity, every background, every class of person in America has been subject to physical, mental, and spiritual tampering. And now, let's circle it back to the title, to the topic. The globalists are trying to further enslave humanity. There's conscription, so forced military service. There is debt slavery, where we have all these college students, myself included, in so much debt, we're never actually going to be able to thrive in our material reality, our material conditions. Or they use materialism to incentivize hedonism and then debt in other ways, So people will get into debt for nice cars and boats and houses, and then they're swamped. I'm lucky. All of my debt at this point is mostly student loan debt. I have a little bit of credit card debt, very small amount left to pay off. You know, I've got a few personal loans I need to pay off eventually, but there's no like time frame on that. I'm lucky. But I also don't have like a house, so I don't have anything to show for it, but I have faith I will get land. I'm getting off subject. I'm getting selfish. My ego is taking over. Let's get back to the war and the fact that we should not be conscripting our people for a farce of a foreign war. I acknowledge conflict is occurring, but it's not the conflict that you think it is, and it's not driven by the roots that you think it is. The globalists are playing a game that we're not playing. As the late, great George Carlin used to say, it's a big club, and you ain't in it. Oh my gosh, I almost did an impression. And then I think there's a further bit, and it's the club they used. Nope, see, I wasn't trying, and then as soon as I try, it goes away. Don't try, just be. But it's the same club that they use to beat you over the head with. It's the same gun they hold at your head to force you to participate, to force you to be complicit. And so I have a tremendous amount of compassion for our soldiers who did things that they thought were right and just and noble, and who now may regret their actions. I have compassion for you. I know I'm nobody, but it's a start. And that pureness that drove you to initially enlist, that's still needed. Because there still is a war going on. It's just not the war that the media talks about. It's the spiritual war. It's the globalist effort to consolidate the planetary resources war. It's real. It's happening. And although you may regret your actions of previous soldiering, you may need to soldier up again for whatever little family you might have, for whatever little community you might have. You might not have family. You might not have friends. You might not have community. If you are in that position and you are lonely and depressed because the suicide rate among veterans and trans people, the two highest suicide rate groups I can think of, my heart goes out to both of them. Do not take your own life. Go find your local humane society and start volunteering. I promise you, it will give you the slightest bit of purpose to help you out of the darkness. It will give you a family. I promise you, if you go volunteer at your local humane society, the people who work there, they will begin to enjoy that you spend your time there. They'll look forward to seeing you. They'll be thankful that you're there. I promise you that. If you just go and humbly commit yourself to volunteering to your humane society, you will find community, and you will find love, and you will find purpose. This is not how I intended the video to end or to go, but war is so unnecessary right now. At least the war that the media is pushing. The war we need to fight is against the globalists, the elitists, the evil entities seeking to manipulate your world. I'll end it there, I think. Thank you very much for listening. Much love.